Greetings, adventurers, and welcome back to Abnormal Voyages. My name is David, and today we are in New Orleans, Louisiana, to dig into that most legendary event, Mardi Gras, well known throughout the world. Here at Blaine Kern's Mardi Gras World, we're actually going to take a peek behind the scenes of how the magic is made for those amazing parades. Tag along.
We're going to a place that you've never heard of before. It's Abnormal Voyages. You're gonna learn something new. We're gonna open new doors. It's Abnormal Voyages.
Mardi Gras is one of the most famous celebrations in the world, and nobody celebrates it quite as heavy as New Orleans. With a whole season of parties, parades, floats, and beads, this event is always unforgettable. Mardi Gras is actually French and translates as Fat Tuesday, a reference to its religious roots that has celebrations culminating the day before Ash Wednesday and the start of Lent. Here at Mardi Gras World, you get a chance to not only learn a little bit about the history of Mardi Gras, but you get to see how these wonderful things are made that end up in the parades.
We begin our tour of Mardi Gras World in the prop shop, where we see where all those wonderful props are made.
The first thing you see as you enter is this in-progress mural that they're working on. We then found ourselves in the beginning of the actual office areas of where they plan out and begin to execute the creation of the props. Just looking around, you're able to see countless bits and bobs to different projects that are being worked on. This giant cow is pretty much done, whereas this Cupid still needs a nice coat of paint.
Next, we're at the painting center, where all the pieces of the props actually get painted. As you can see that in the story piece here. Painting center stretches over this way. Mixing stations for all the different colors they need. And as you can tell, it is a massive space in here to fit in all these giant props.
Painting such a large piece, details are extremely important as people are going to be able to see them a lot easier than they would on a little thing. The giant tarot cards hanging up were one of my favorite pieces. They looked great. And the dragon on the side, oof, amazing. Seeing the sculpted pieces kind of gave you an idea of what they looked like before the masterwork was done with all the paint.
Behind me we have the sculpting station, where a lot of these pieces actually take their form, their shape. If you lean over here, it looks like they're getting ready for some Egyptian props that they're sculpting. And in back there we have all the excess, and you can see the stuff that's actually been shaved off to make props. And as they continue going, they end up looking like this lovely slot machine right here. It's amazing the stuff that can be sculpted.
Currently being worked on in the sculpting center was this large replica of two people riding in a roller coaster. The details were great. You could see their face, all their expression was there. All it needed was to be finished up and painted. The majority of the warehouse was devoted to storing old props and pieces that had been used in years prior. It blew me away how many different things you could find here. There was all manner of pop culture icons, sports icons, seasonal things. Whatever you were looking for, they almost guaranteed had something made from it. Some pieces were works in progress, or things that never quite got finished, but were still sticking around until the day that they can be used. This guy existed just to prove that pigs can fly sometimes. It looks like our old friends from the Wizard of Oz stopped by here on their way to see the wizard. And even the genie himself from Aladdin was hanging out here in Mardi Gras World.
The scale on some of these props is massive.
This is one gorilla that I could absolutely see being able to climb up a building. This next room was the holding room, where they're able to actually hold full-size floats as they work on them. But I think it's time to take a short break and have another installment of Blake's Food Stars.
Here at Mardi Gras World, you're given a complimentary piece of king cake, which is, of course, a very traditional part of the Mardi Gras season. So, we're going to test it and see what Blake thinks about it. There we go. Very sweet.
Yeah,
All right, so 1 out of 5 stars. What is this?
I'll say about 3.5. I've definitely had some better king cake than this, but
Okay.
I can't be free.
So there you go.
3.5.
3.5 stars.
Like I said, the king cake has of course become a big part of Mardi Gras tradition, and typically there's a little plastic baby hidden in the cake. If you happen to get the piece with the baby in it, you're in store for a year of good luck and prosperity. However, you're also expected to buy the cake for next year. I guess that's a pretty fair trade-off for a whole year of good luck. Just make sure that you don't accidentally choke on the baby when you're eating the cake. Back inside the warehouse, we're treated to more of these wonderful props and pieces of the floats. All the colors popping out like crazy. The Egyptian pieces in particular stand out. I've noticed a lot of little pieces of them kind of spread out, but I kind of want to see them all together. I bet the float that they were on was amazing back in the day. The sculpting on all these faces was really well done too. Abraham Lincoln, Smokey the Bear. They, of course, rank equally in American history, I suppose, so gotta have them together. This piece looked a lot like that game, Don't Wake Daddy, the board game, but I believe in that game there's only one person in the bed, the dad, so not sure what that was from. Of course, a big dancing chili pepper here. You can't have Louisiana without having some hot sauce around, as we learned in our hot sauce episode a while back. Big turkey there. I don't think he's willing to be anybody's Thanksgiving dinner. And another very, very impressive dragon. This must have taken an extremely long time to sculpt out. I love it. Over next to this very, very large sun, they actually had one of the garage doors open just so you could see how wide it has to be to get those parade floats in and out when they decide to work on them, to put the pieces on them. It goes up way higher than it was, but you at least got to see the width there.
We have now entered the float deck, where we actually get to see some full-size floats with their props and everything on them to give you an idea of how they would look rolling down the street.
Getting to see the completed product after seeing all the different props was spectacular. Seeing every little bit of work that comes together to create these rolling masterpieces. That's why these parades are top-notch and known all throughout the world. Unfortunately, just so that nothing would break or have any accidents, we weren't able to actually get on the floats, but just getting to be near them and seeing them right here in front of us was more than enough. In a way, this was kind of like getting a backstage tour to a show that doesn't really take place on a stage per se. So it was really interesting the way that they put this together to still give you a glimpse behind the scenes. I bet seeing these on the day before they're ready to go with everybody lining up, getting on top, and rolling out is probably a very cool day to be here. Here were some more fully finished pieces next to ones that were in progress, just to give you an idea of what they had come from and what they go through to get to that final point of being able to be put right there on the float and rolling down Bourbon Street. I was also struck by just how zany this entire place was. There was plenty of pop culture things and known historical figures, as I'm sure you've seen, but I really didn't expect so much Greek mythology, religion, just different lore that came into the creation of the themes and the art pieces that they chose to go with. It was really interesting. And even though most of these pieces all come from different floats, when you see them grouped together like this, it really gets your imagination going, thinking if the theme was something that fit all of these mismatched people thrown together onto one float. The explosion of color on this float was eye-popping. You could see all the balloons ready to go. It had all the classic Mardi Gras colors, everything bright, cheery. Here was a little baby helping celebrate New Year's and the passage of time. This was probably my favorite completed float that we got to see out of the entire fleet of what was getting ready here. And though this particular place doesn't really go into the people that are on the floats, the costumes and elaborate things that they do when they're throwing out all the different beads, all the different souvenirs, and how they're dressed to match the float is definitely a big part of what makes this so fun. And as far as standout pieces, right here with the rocket ship that had hit the moon's eye, one of my tops. And look, even good old Underdog found a place here. The entire group from KISS decided to show up, a little different from all the bright, cheery colors. And then we had a Squirtle in a pair of pants. Alright. And then good old Cat in the Hat, which went along with quite a large assortment of Dr. Seuss characters they had here. I have to imagine there was probably a Dr. Seuss themed float at one point. See, there's the mayor of Whoville there. And I believe we also had the Lorax and Thing 1 and Thing 2 hanging out back here. And of course they'd been renamed to Muse 1 and Muse 2 to fit with the Mardi Gras theme. That all-time classic couple, Mickey and Minnie Mouse, and a blowfish. I guess that's their pet blowfish. And they're hanging out with Captain Morgan. Where else are you going to see a pairing like that? You got to have Horton the Elephant if you're going to be doing Dr. Seuss. And he apparently gets some tips from Yoda. As you can see, the warehouse is just absolutely filled with goodies and wonderful things just waiting to be seen. Well, that is all from Mardi Gras World. My name is David. This has been Abnormal Voyages. Thanks for tagging along, and we'll see you next week.